Hello everybody, and welcome to our presentation on Alien Killer, a game made by Jaden Keeney and Eric Tatty. The title of our game is Alien Killer. We felt that this was a good name as it summed up the premise of the game, whilst also being short and simple. The game sees the player take control of a human soldier aboard an alien vessel. He is the lone survivor of the boarding party sent to destroy the ship from the inside. However, things did not go according to plans, and so now the soldier, faced with his imminent death, is resolved to kill as many aliens as he can before they kill him. Alien Killer is a top-down shooter. The player uses the arrow keys, or WASD keys, on the keyboard to move the soldier about the level. The player can also use the spacebar to activate Soldier's dash ability, which increases his speed for a short distance. The player uses the mouse to aim and shoot bullets at enemies. There are 3 different kinds of enemies, which all have a chance to drop health upon their deaths. The first encountered is the Crawler, which is a melee-based enemy with very low health points and very low damage output, but has the fastest movement speed. The second enemy encountered is the Raider, which has medium health points and medium damage, as well as medium speed. The final enemy encountered is the War Chief. The War Chief is capable of ranged and melee attacks, and has the highest health points and damage output, but is also the slowest enemy. The game incorporates a scaling difficulty system, so that the player doesn't encounter a War Chief in the first few moments of his game. Unlike in other top-down shooters, our enemy AI uses an AI manager rather than a nav mesh to track and follow the player's position. We chose to use this system as there was difficulty trying to use a nav mesh, so a workaround was required. Whilst there are downsides to not using a nav mesh, like enemies clumping together, we have also countered it by making enemy spawn rates lower, and balanced this by making enemies harder to kill or giving them higher damage output. For all objects during the first phase of game development, placeholder sprites were used for testing the mechanics. When all the main mechanics had been established and implemented, we undertook the task of creating sprites and animations for Alien Killer. The first sprite made was the sprite for the soldier. The first image pictured is the soldier base. The soldier base was created to get a basic humanoid shape and is used in both iterations of the soldier player character. Note, the soldier was also used for making the sprites of the Raider and War Chief, as both enemies have relatively humanoid figures. The second image shown is the first iteration of the soldier. The first iteration of the soldier was designed to resemble an Imperial Guardsman from Warhammer 40,000. However, this iteration of the soldier was put aside as the sprite was made too small and did not look good when the image was expanded. The third image depicted is the final iteration for the soldier sprite. This iteration was made much larger and is based off the Doomslayer from Doom 2016, as it has a more futuristic look than the previous iteration.
Like with the soldier, placeholder sprites were used for the enemy objects until the main mechanics were implemented. The first enemy, the Crawler, is the only full melee enemy and is supposed to be reminiscent of an alien attack dog. The Crawler was made to look humanoid and creepy. It was also the first sprite to include animations. The base sprite for the Crawler went through 2 iterations. The first version was put aside because it was small and did not include enough frames to have a convincing walk cycle, so a second larger and better animated base sprite was created. Note, neither of the base sprites were used in the game, and the Crawler used its placeholder sprite until all animations for the final Crawler were completed. The Raider was the second enemy sprite created, as it was the second enemy variation to be completed in the game. The Raider was created using the base sprite for the soldier. The Raider does not really use any animations, and instead transitions from its start sprite to its dead sprite when it dies. The War Chief was the last sprite to be made and is essentially the tank or enemy boss. The War Chief, like the Raider, was made using the soldier base sprite. The War Chief and Raider have similar designs as they are the same species but are on different ranks in the special hierarchy. Hence why the War Chief has better armor and weapons. Unlike the Raider, the War Chief does include animations, as it performs a swing of its club when it's in range with the soldier. The initial idea for the level was to have it based inside an alien spaceship in its cargo bay. The overall aesthetic and appearance of the cargo bay was based off of the first stage of the mission, the Truth and Reconciliation, in the game Halo Combat Evolved. The first iteration of the level was simply a colored square with box colliders around it to keep the player and enemies inside. Over time, sprites and objects were made to further flesh out the play area and make it look like a level in a video game. One of the main features that was implemented in the game was health packs, which would have a chance to be dropped by an enemy upon their death, and would have a greater chance of dropping depending on the overall difficulty of the enemy. The initial concept was to have more than just health drops. We intended to include weapon modification drops. However, this idea was scrapped, as making the player more lethal would require the game to have a scaling balance system, so that the game did not become too easy in the late stages. So the additional pickups were scrapped, as we felt it would be too hard to include this scaling balance system. The game utilizes 3 different bullet types, but each bullet type is only used by one type of entity in the game. The first bullet is used by the soldier and is unique in that the player can fire a constant stream of bullets by holding the left mouse button down. The second type of bullet is utilized by the raider enemy. The raider does not have a fast fire rate, but the bullet has high damage output and only takes 2 hits to kill the player. So even being hit by 1 bullet is bad for the player. The third bullet is used by the War Chief. It has the highest damage output, killing the player in 1 hit, but is also slower than the Raider's bullet and is fired only when the player is close to the War Chief. So as long as the player keeps their distance, they will be fine. This concludes our presentation. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to the demonstration of Alien Killer. I'm just going to be showing you a little bit of how the game plays. This is the volume slider. I decided to put it in there just so the sound's not as loud. That's the health bar down the bottom, the score up the top left, and these are the first enemies that you meet. There's a little health pack on the floor behind me there. This is mostly just going to be the demonstration of the game and not really much of my talking. That's the me map in the top right that I pointed out there. It covers more of the screen than a normal screen. That's the death scene. It's game over. That brings you back to the menu. You have to change the options every time. However, I didn't find that much of a problem. We're going to do a little run around the map here, just showing what the map looks like. You'll see the enemies spawn from the 4 different corners. That was their spawn points that we set because they're doorways, so it makes sense. The little circle in the middle isn't colliding. This is showing that once you hit the 100 score, then an enemy spawn. Making it a little bit harder. That's another game over. I'm not very good at this game. So yeah, the middle bit isn't colliding. You can't run into it at all. It's just there for aesthetics. I have a habit of going down the stairs even though you don't have to. That's a little little bit of aesthetics in the wall there. As you can tell, I'm terrible at this game. Continue on until towards the end. I haven't managed to get a war chief to melee me yet. They mostly use range. However, there is an action and animation for if you get too close to them. It's just a difficult feat to get that close. That I use the mini-map more than the actual map to play, though it's a lot harder to aim. I just keep playing the game until I've explained as much as I can. You can see that we made the health pack spin. Thought that was a nice little aesthetic that we could put in there. Make them spin and flash to look like they could be picked up. I was gonna try and get him to melee me then, but the crawler came up to me.